Hi beautiful people, Reverend Teresa Ruby Garcia here, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most important questions that I ask myself about in regards to just about everything, okay? And that question is, I wonder what false stories I believe about myself, others, and this could be applied to religions, to Jesus, to God, which I highly, highly recommend, because most of us have, an upbringing that taught us things about religion and spirituality. And it's so important for us to know what lies are filtering our perception, because as you might have already listened to in the previous session, where I talk about neuroscience and epigenetics and philosophy and how those combined shaped my perspective, I get into the science of how our reality is shaped by what we believe. And so all the way down to the functioning of our DNA, okay? And so this is so important because we pick up things as a kid very much like a sponge. So whatever we're exposed to, without even knowing it, we take on as truths, okay? And so if there's false stories or false narratives about yourself, then you're going to operate in a certain way. And this could even be applied to food, right? One of the stories I told myself for many, many years, more than probably about 15 years, up until just now, was that eating healthy organic was expensive, right? Choosing, hormone-free and all that stuff. And I used to spend roughly $200 to $400 a week on food every single week. And now I know that I can eat and I can ball on a budget. I can have all organic things, but I just made a meal, y'all, that would have fed 5 people, 5 to 7, because if there's kids, they don't need a big old chicken breast, right? The most delicious, nutritious meal. And it was, this roasted chicken breast, and I made this sauce, and the sauce was just onion, garlic, some white champagne vinaigrette, and cilantro. It was so good. And then I made roasted cabbage, and I made a sauce with that, and I used the other piece of the onion that I didn't use for the chicken, and sauteed that with some butter and Dijon and a little bit of sour cream. There was this creamy, potent, delicious meal. And all together, including like the little bits of condiments, I spent less than $35 on that meal, right? And that's insane. I used to spend way like $100 and something sometimes on one meal to feed a few people. And so it's a lie. And as soon as you know that it's a lie, your brain can start actually seeing truth. But if you believe something, then the part of your brain, the reticular ocular system, or RAS, R-A-S, is constantly scanning for our beliefs, so you can only see what you believe. And this is just absolutely magical, yet completely practical. Now you have science, you have neuroscience, you have quantum physics, you have epigenetics, you have the research available to you at your fingertips. And so once you see the evidence of this, you can choose, do I want to think differently about things? Do I want to see truth, or do I want to perpetuate lies, right? And so I made the joke about the food, but it's a serious one that could transform your whole life, because many people, are going to McDonald's, and because they think that's all they can afford. However, it's not. You can eat clean. You just have to choose it. And there's going to be a place or a transition period for your taste buds, right? If you're used to eating junk food and crap, and you know, sorry, McDonald's, right? Like, but everybody knows that fast food is pretty much, and I'm not just picking on McDonald's. You know, there's a lot of restaurants that are, you know, selling processed, really nasty food as well that people are eating just as freely as these fast food restaurants. And they're charging, you know, $12 to $20 a meal. And you could, if you, I don't want to shut down a restaurant. Like, I love our restaurants, I support our restaurants. However, we need to regularly eat whole foods. And if we're not doing that, then our cellular structures can only hold so much light. Okay? So our light quotient, our ability to hold on to light, is not only dependent on our physicality, it's also dependent on our mental state and our spiritual state. And so it's all intertwined and interconnected together. And this is, you know, why I love holistic health, because it's never just one thing. It's all of it. And you don't have to work on everything at once. You pick little small changes to add to your day to help you be more healthy, to help you have a clear gut. If you have a clear gut, guess what else you have? A clear mind. And a clear mind can go after your vision and your destiny with strength and power. But a weak mind doesn't even want to try. It doesn't believe it can. And so, you know, when you eat a lot of junk food, you most likely will have all kinds of parasites and things like that as well. Because if your gut isn't at an 80% good bacteria, which requires natural, healthy, clean food, at 79% good bacteria, you create an environment where your own yeast can get into the blood, and once they do that, they start to grow and they become parasites. And so it's like a symbiotic relationship that is natural to our system. However, if you're being unnatural with your vessel, then they take over and they feed off of you, and they cause you to crave foods that feed them more, foods that, you know, they don't like, or that they like. And so there's a period when you adjust from eating healthy to eating clean where maybe it doesn't taste that good at first, because your taste buds have to adjust back to natural food. And so I encourage you to ask yourself, what lies am I telling myself? You know, some of us are telling ourselves we don't have time to work out. Well, I'm going to show you in the next few days a very simple workout that anyone can do in 3 minutes. And it's a kettlebell swing, and it's with HIIT. So you're not even working the whole 3 minutes. You get lots of breaks in between. And it's one of the first workouts that I did when I started my journey, because I couldn't even do a video workout for 30 minutes because it would wear me out. Well, guess what? I was literally filled with parasites, and I was sick and inflamed and exhausted despite getting plenty of sleep. So if that's you, I encourage you, ask yourself, what lies am I telling about my health? What lies am I telling about, you know, God and my spirituality? What lies am I telling, you know, about myself, right? Ask yourself this question. What lies are you telling? And I love it when I add the I wonder part to it. Because anytime you add wonder to something, you invoke this childlike curiosity. So I wonder what lies I'm telling about myself. I wonder what lies I'm telling about time. My time. I wonder what lies I'm telling about my relationships. I wonder what lies I'm telling about my abilities. Ask yourself what lies you are telling if you truly want to live by truth. Thank you so much, and have a great day.